One 56-year-old man who gets his own first vaccine dose today, along with almost 500,000 other people across the UK. But the Prime Minister's public display of faith in the Oxford AstraZeneca version of the jab couldn't come at a more important moment in the rollout. Here's what he said at a Downing Street briefing last night.
So the Oxford jab is safe and the Pfizer jab is safe. The thing that isn't safe is catching COVID, which is why it's so important that we all get our jabs as soon as our turn comes. And as it happens, I'm getting mine tomorrow.
In April, glitches in supply will force centres like this one to scale back their efforts. But for the rest of March, there's actually a glut. For the next fortnight, some GPs are getting triple their usual allocation. Unhelpful then that the rollout needs to hit warp speed at the very moment some neighbouring nations cast doubt on the safety of the AstraZeneca jab.
We've seen a significant number of patients who are more hesitant to accept an appointment from us, or indeed who have had an appointment and haven't turned up for their jab. However, having said that, the rates of people receiving the vaccine and accepting the vaccine are still incredibly high, so we're very happy with that. And again, I hope that as the message comes through that the vaccine is perfectly safe, we will go back to our original numbers again.
GPs and pharmacies have pulled out all the stops to reach the priority groups by running clinics for ethnic minority communities, in hostels and in soup kitchens, and by revisiting care homes 4, even 5 times. From their experience of the flu vaccine programme, they're also well used to dealing with sharp rises and falls in supply. But the short shelf life of some batches sent out recently could make the next fortnight very challenging. Here is one somewhat misguided attempt to make sure every vaccine is used. It's an unofficial WhatsApp message encouraging people to book in even if they are under 50. Please feel free to share the link with your loved ones and friends, it reads, as they need to be used, otherwise they go to waste. The website the message links to has now been taken down, and plans are quickly being developed to shift supplies from clinics that have spare to those that don't.
We've managed to share it with different colleagues, some quite locally and some further afield. My advice is if you've been invited for a vaccine that you should go, because actually in 2 weeks' time the invitation may not be there because there may not be any, because we've got plenty at the moment. We won't have plenty in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm hoping that there'll be more in May, but these things, it's always hard to say, isn't it?
The government says we remain on track to offer a first dose to over 50s by the middle of April and all adults by the end of July. Variations in supply were bound to happen, but so much is riding on smoothing out these bumps. Catherine Jones, 5 News.
Whatever hitches we may be having, much of Europe seems to be having it worse. Several countries have only just restarted the rollout of the AstraZeneca vaccine after regulators declared it was safe again, while large parts of France are now heading into another month-long lockdown. Layla Hayes is in the studio for us. And what's the picture across Europe, Layla?
Well, from midnight tonight, 16 regions of France, including Paris, will be going back into lockdown. And that's because the number of new infections is rising in France. And unfortunately, that's something we're now seeing in many European countries. This chart shows daily new cases per million people. And you can see a large rise in cases in the Czech Republic, and high cases too in France, Italy and Greece. Spain is also higher than the UK, where numbers are now in decline due to the lockdown and the vaccination programme. Now, you may remember earlier this week, a number of European countries suspended the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine over concerns over possible blood clots. Well, today, countries like Germany resumed their rollout of the vaccine after EU regulators declared it was safe. France has also restarted the programme, with the French Prime Minister having his jab today. But there are concerns that this confusion over safety will have affected public confidence.
There are a lot of mixed feelings about the vaccine rollout. Obviously, a lot of skepticism, even among health workers who refuse to take the AstraZeneca jab, but also people thinking, is it safe? Is it not safe? Does the government even know what they're doing? So a lot of mixed feelings, a lot of confusion, and so far it's not going extremely well.
There was also bad news today for anyone hoping to travel abroad this summer. Public Health England said allowing quarantine-free travel to countries like Greece last year could have had a significant impact on the spread of the virus. Travel experts say this summer will also be a challenge.
It's going to have to be that it's going to be very slow. It's going to be a very slow rollout, with the government making decisions on an almost, sort of week by week basis in terms of what they regard as being safe countries to go to. There will be a lot of monitoring of number of cases, number of variants in various different countries.
So the vaccine rollout may be going well here, but the reality is it needs to be going well everywhere before we get back to anything resembling normality.
Layla, thank you very much. And a good point. Let's return now to our health correspondent, Catherine Jones, is in the newsroom for us. Catherine, it's clear that while the vaccination process here is a big success, there are hiccups along the way, aren't there?
I think the big picture here is that we've got to remember vaccine acceptance in this country is really very high. I know we worry a lot about hesitancy, and it really is important to reach those hard-to-get-to groups. But compared to other parts of the rest of the world, we're pretty enthusiastic as a population about this vaccine programme. The difficulty in the short term is this unfortunate kind of coincidental set of events. We're reaching the younger age group, the 50-somethings who are perhaps less motivated to get protected because they're at lower risk. There has been this concern over AstraZeneca jab, which, as Layla's explained, has now been dealt with. But over the same period, we've had this huge dump of vaccines that it now has become clear need to be used, some of them very quickly. And then we're going to have a period of relative scarcity. I think really all I can do is re-emphasise what one of the GPs in my report said, which is if you get the call, because you are eligible, just respond quickly and get on with it.
Catherine, thanks very much for that. Well, a record number of vaccines were administered in the UK yesterday. More than 500,000 people, 528,260, were given their first dose, while 130,000 people had their second dose, the highest number yet. In total, that's more than 660,000 jabs. In the past 24 hours, the government has recorded another 101 deaths within 28 days of a positive COVID test. That's 40% lower than the same time last week, and just over 4,800 new cases have been reported.